You don't fight a narcissist with words. You hurt them with silence, because silence is something they can't control. They can't twist it, spin it, or turn it into a game they win. And when you stop playing, they lose everything. You see, there's something most people don't realize. Narcissists don't just crave attention. They depend on it. It's their oxygen. Every glance, every text, every argument, especially the arguments, feed them. And when you go quiet, when you vanish from the stage they thought they were starring on, it unravels them. But before we talk about why ignoring them works, we need to talk about why you stayed, why you tried, why you bent over backward, over and over, hoping they'd finally see you. Because if you're here, it's not just curiosity. It's because you've been through the kind of pain that doesn't leave bruises but leaves scars no one else can see. Maybe it started with charm, that magnetic pull, like they really saw you, like someone had finally found the real you under all your walls. And for a while it felt like magic. They mirrored your soul, echoed your dreams, made promises in glances and smiles. But slowly, almost silently, things shifted. You started shrinking. You started explaining yourself, apologizing for things you didn't do, walking on eggshells in your own life. And that's the thing when someone chips away at your spirit, piece by piece. They don't need to raise their voice. They just make you question yourself, make you doubt your worth, and you begin to feel small, but you keep giving. You keep hoping the love you pour out will heal the hole inside them, that your softness will melt their cruelty. But it never does, because narcissists don't want love. They want power, and love, real love, is not control. It's not fear. It's not confusion. It doesn't make you feel like you're losing your mind. Real love doesn't hurt like that. So when you finally go quiet, when you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop defending yourself, they panic. Because now, they're alone with the one thing they can't stand, themselves. They'll call it the silent treatment, but it's not. The silent treatment is a weapon they use. Yours is something else entirely. It's not revenge, it's survival. And maybe you didn't mean to ignore them at first. Maybe you were just too tired to keep trying. Maybe you were crying alone in your room, staring at your phone, waiting for an apology that would never come. Maybe it wasn't strength at first, it was heartbreak. But ignoring them, it became your quiet revolution. Because they can't stand the emptiness when you stop responding. Not because they miss you, not in the way you miss someone you love, but because without your attention they feel hollow, exposed, powerless. And for someone who builds their identity around being adored, feared, or admired, that's unbearable. They will try to pull you back in, maybe with fake kindness, maybe with rage, maybe with guilt. They'll poke at your wounds, remind you of the good times, spin stories where they're the victim. But this time, you're different. You see through it. You're no longer reacting, no longer dancing. And that silence, it's loud. It says, you don't get to control me anymore. It says, I finally see you. It says, I finally see me. If this is resonating with you, you're not alone. You're not weak for having stayed. You were loyal. You were loving. You were human. And now, you're healing. If any part of this is touching your heart, stay with me. There's more I need to say. Stories I need to finish. Truths I need to hand you like medicine you were never given. And if you feel seen here, if something inside you whispered, this is me, then maybe it's time to come home to yourself. Make sure you tap that subscribe button and like this video if you feel like this space could be your shelter. Somewhere quiet, somewhere honest, somewhere real. We're just getting started. They don't tell you how hard the silence is for you, because even though it's the most powerful move you can make, it doesn't feel like power at first. It feels like grief, like standing in a house that used to be full of sound, now echoing with everything unsaid. You wonder if they even notice your absence. You wonder if they care, and that wondering, it haunts you, because narcissists don't leave behind the kind of wounds that scab over clean. They leave confusion, ghosts, memories that loop on repeat. You'll replay the moments they held your face and said you were everything. You'll replay the moments they went cold, left you in the middle of a storm they created, and then blamed you for the thunder. You'll ask yourself 100 times, was it me? But here's what they don't want you to understand. Narcissists aren't hurt by your words. They're prepared for that. They thrive on drama, on confrontation, on chaos. It gives them something to push against, to manipulate, to twist into proof that you were the problem all along. But your absence, your non-response, that terrifies them. Because in silence, there's nothing for them to spin. No argument to win, no tears to feed off, no control. just the reflection of their own emptiness staring back at them. And that reflection is unbearable. They will feel it. Maybe not the way you want them to. Maybe not with regret or true sorrow. But they'll feel the shift, the loss of access. The sudden emptiness where your energy used to be. You were their mirror, their audience, their supply. And now you've closed the curtain. At first, they'll pretend not to care. They'll post. They'll parade. They'll act as if you were the one who begged to stay. But in the quiet hours when no one's watching, they'll start unraveling because they didn't just lose attention. They lost control. And to someone who sees relationships as thrones to sit on, that loss cuts deeper than anything you could ever say. Still, the silence isn't just for them. It's for you. Because the longer you stay away, the clearer you start to see. You see how much of yourself you gave up trying to love someone who only loved the reflection of themselves in your eyes. You see how you explained your heart to someone who never listened. You see how you forgave, again and again, not because they deserved it, but because you were desperate to make it work, to fix it, to fix them. But people are not projects, and love is not meant to drain you. So maybe for the first time you begin turning the energy inward. Instead of asking, what did I do wrong? You start asking, what do I need? Instead of thinking, I wasn't enough for them, you start whispering, they were never capable of loving me the way I deserve. And even though it hurts God, it hurts there's something sacred in that pain. Because now you're finally choosing you. It doesn't mean you don't miss them. It doesn't mean the nights aren't lonely, or that the silence doesn't ache. But it's a different kind of pain now. It's not the chaos of being hurt over and over. It's the raw, aching honesty of healing. And healing isn't always soft. Sometimes it's quiet rage. Sometimes it's falling apart in your car after holding it together all day. Sometimes it's sitting in a room where their name is still echoing through your chest and choosing not to text them. That's courage. That's power. And slowly, the silence becomes something else. Not a void, but a boundary. A place where you don't explain yourself. Where you don't beg to be chosen. Where you don't fight to be heard. You just are. And that, right there, that space you're building, that's where you come back to life. Somewhere in that silence, you remember the sound of your own voice. Not the voice you used to soften yourself, to tiptoe around their moods, to make your pain palatable. Know your real voice. The one that spoke your truth before you were ever taught to doubt it. The one you buried under all the pretending. It's shaky at first, quiet, like a whisper in the dark. But it's there. And as the silence stretches, you begin to hear it more clearly. You start to hear what your heart actually wants, not what you were told you should want. Not survival disguised as love, not highs and crashes, but peace, safety, stillness. And maybe you don't know what that feels like yet. Maybe you've never had it. But the fact that you can now imagine it, that's everything. Because you've lived inside a storm for so long, you forgot calm even existed. You forgot that love isn't supposed to feel like you're drowning and calling it passion. You forgot that being loved should feel like coming home, not like walking through fire just to earn someone's scraps. And when you pull back from the narcissist, when you stop giving them access to your mind, your heart, your time, your body, you begin to reclaim something sacred, your self-respect. And they feel it. Oh, they feel it. Not because you said anything, but because of what you didn't say. Because your silence is no longer passive. It's a message. A line drawn in the sand. A declaration. I won't abandon myself to keep you comfortable. They may try to punish you for that. Try to provoke you. Try to get a reaction. Maybe they'll send you guilt-laced texts. Maybe they'll accuse you of being cold, distant, cruel. Maybe they'll say, after everything I did for you, with a straight face, as if your pain didn't exist. But that's the trap. That's where most people fall back in. Because when someone who's hurt you suddenly plays the victim, it stirs something deep. Maybe your inner child. Maybe your need to be seen as good. Maybe your hope that this time they'll finally get it, but they won't. Not really. Not because they're incapable of change, but because they don't want to. Because change requires accountability. And narcissists fear accountability like fire. It would mean admitting they caused pain, and that doesn't serve them. What serves them is control. So you stay quiet, not out of pettiness, but out of protection. You don't explain your boundaries to someone who only sees them as a challenge. You don't defend your worth to someone who benefits from you forgetting it. You protect your peace like it's oxygen. Because it's island, and the longer you do, the more you see the truth. You see how much smaller you had to make yourself just to keep the relationship alive. How you dulled your light, bit your tongue, swallowed your sadness. How you bent your needs into shapes that were easier for them to digest. And now you're done being digestible. You're allowed to be too much, too emotional, too honest, too awake. You're allowed to want more than being tolerated, more than being used for someone else's validation, more than being loved only when it's convenient for them. You're allowed to want real, and when that realization sets in, really sets in, the silence transforms again. It's no longer the ache of missing them, it's the relief of finding you. That's why ignoring a narcissist hurts them more than words ever could. Because in the space where they used to live rent-free in your mind, you've finally moved yourself back in. You've become the thing they feared most. Freedom doesn't come with a parade. It doesn't always feel like victory. Sometimes, it feels like a quiet room where no one is demanding anything from you. And for a moment, that stillness can feel foreign, like you're waiting for the next wave, the next crash, the next explosion. But it doesn't come, because now, you're not in the storm anymore. You start noticing things, little things, like how your chest feels a bit lighter in the mornings, how the air doesn't carry the same tension it used to, how your phone can stay silent without your heart sinking. These are signs that the grip is loosening, that the invisible chains around your self-worth are rusting, cracking, falling away. The narcissist may still hover. They may test the waters. A random message, a just checking in, a vague post meant for you to see. Because here's the thing, they hate being forgotten. To them, being ignored is worse than being hated. At least hate means they still matter. But indifference, silence, that's ego death. And it's not your responsibility to revive them. Not your job to soften your healing so it doesn't make them uncomfortable. You tried to save them before. Remember, you tried to love them into being whole. You gave second, third, 10th chances. You told yourself, they didn't mean it. You carried the weight for both of you, but it was never your burden to carry. You were never meant to lose yourself so someone else could feel big. You were never meant to explain your pain to someone who caused it and then called it love. So now, you stay silent, not because you're bitter, but because peace is louder than chaos ever was. Because there's nothing left to say that they haven't already proven they won't hear. And if you're still healing, if part of you still aches, still wonders, still reaches for the ghost of who they pretended to be, just know that this is part of it. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a spiral. You'll revisit the same wounds. You'll question yourself. You'll miss the idea of them more than the reality. That's okay. That's normal. But every time you choose not to respond, not to re-engage, not to break your own heart to fix theirs, you're choosing yourself. And that's the muscle that gets stronger. Slowly, quietly, until one day you realize you don't need them to be sorry. You don't need closure. You don't need the apology that never comes. Because you've created your own. Because the closure was never theirs to give, it was yours to claim. And claiming it isn't loud. It's not fireworks or dramatic exits. It's peace. Real peace. The kind that doesn't depend on someone else's behavior to exist. The kind that whispers, you made it out. You survived what you thought would break you. And now you're becoming someone they never imagined you could be. Untouchable, not because you've built walls, but because you've built wisdom. You can still love deeply, still feel everything, still cry when the memories creep in. But now you know the difference between connection and control, between love and illusion, between staying and self-abandonment. And that knowing, that's everything. So when they wonder why you're so quiet, when they try to bait you, haunt you, remind you of who you used to be with them, just smile, because they'll never understand the power in what you didn't say. They'll never understand that the loudest thing you ever said was said in silence. Because in that silence, you told the truth. You told them, you can't reach me anymore. You told them, I see through you now. I see the pattern. I see the manipulation. I see the way you made me believe your chaos was my fault. And even though it took everything in you to walk away, even though it broke parts of you that you're still learning how to hold, you did it. You left the fire. You left the fantasy. You left the hope that they would finally wake up and see your worth. Because now you see it, and you're not begging for love anymore. You're not chasing apologies that come wrapped in blame. You're not shrinking yourself to make space for someone who never made space for you. You're choosing peace over performance, stillness over survival, healing over hurting. And maybe it's quiet now. Maybe it's lonely, but it's honest. And that honesty will carry you further than any half-love ever could. You'll have moments where the grief surges, where you miss them so deeply it feels like your bones remember. But even then, you'll know you're not missing them. You're missing the version of them that never existed, the version you created out of hope, out of dreams, out of the need to be loved by someone who never truly saw you. That's not weakness. That's your heart. And it's beautiful. But now you're learning to protect it, to give it only to those who can hold it without breaking it, without twisting it, without making you feel like you have to earn what should be given freely. And that kind of love, It starts with you. So let the silence be your sanctuary. Let it be the place where your nervous system unclenches, where you breathe full again, where your laughter returns not forced, not filtered but real, unapologetic, alive. Because you're not here to live in someone else's shadow. You're not here to be a mirror for someone else's ego. You're not here to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You're here to feel, to heal, to be whole. And maybe someone needed to hear this today, not because they're weak, but because they've been strong for far too long. Maybe that someone is you. If it is, take this moment to breathe, to feel the shift in your chest. The space where they used to live is now yours again. Guard it. Fill it with truth, with love, with you. And if your silence ever feels heavy again, just remember, it's not emptiness. It's your soul rebuilding. It's your power returning. It's you finally choosing you. Thank you for being here. If this spoke to your spirit, if it helped you feel less alone, or if it reminded you of your own strength, stay with us. Hit that subscribe button. Like the video. Share it with someone who might need these words. Not out of obligation, but out of love. Because that's what this space is. Real, quiet, true.